Welcome to the Live Free, Love Life podcast, where we discuss how to create more freedom so we can love our lives no matter what we're going through. Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome to today's episode of the Live Free, Love Life podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about one of my very favorite questions. So, have you ever felt like life is conspiring against you? I remember a particularly rough day. Now, this was years ago before I started doing all this work, when just everything seemed to be going wrong. My alarm didn't go off. I spilled soda on my favorite shirt. I got stuck in terrible traffic, making me late for an appointment. And I hate being late. I'm one of those people. And then I found out this big project I'd been working on at work had fallen through. I sat in my car feeling utterly defeated. And I caught myself asking, why is this happening to me? Now, those are all very little things. I also have experienced this with much bigger things, like with infertility or with divorce or with Lyme disease. There are just things in our life where sometimes it's so easy to fall into this trap of negative thinking, thinking that everything is going wrong anytime life throws us some curveballs. And what if I told you that there is a simple question that could completely transform how you view challenges and setbacks? A question that could help you break free from the victim mentality and empower you to take control of your life. And that question is, how is this happening for me? Now, I'm going to tell you another story. This is after I started using this question. We want to always start with the question. You can also change it into an affirmation or a statement, which I'm going to give you an example of in a second. But start with a question. Start with curiosity. Start with being open. Start with giving your brain the job to look for evidence. So that's how I started, with a question. How is this happening for me? If I knew that was true, how could it possibly be true? And I started doing this work. And then there was a day, now this is after I've already changed it to an affirmation. I was playing with Everything Goes My Way, one of my favorite TV shows. One of the characters says that, and I just loved it. I love the way it's worded. So I was just playing with like, everything goes my way, everything goes my way, which is just a different version of everything is happening for me. And I had a very similar day to the one I just mentioned. Someone had passed away, which obviously that is not the best way to start the day. It also threw off my regular routine. And that morning I see one of my doctors because of all my health stuff. I see him every single week at the exact same time. And that was this morning. And there were only 2 appointments in the entire year that were not at 8:30. And this was one of them. And I was like, because I was practicing this, I was like, oh, everything goes my way. That was convenient. And so I was able to do the things that I needed to in the morning. Now I had to go take my kids to a different location. And as I was on my way to still this appointment, which was just an hour later, which was really weird. It's always at 8:30, but it was at 9:30. And as I was on my way, there wasn't good weather. There was snow on the roads, which always slows down the traffic. And I was like, oh, great, I'm still going to be late. But I was like, no, wait, everything goes my way. And it did. The traffic just worked out. I still arrived right on time, and it was amazing. And the day just kept going that way. So it was a very similar day to the one that I said before. But because I was practicing everything goes my way, I saw it completely differently. I saw everything going my way, even though it would be super, super easy to see it all going wrong and everything happening to you, right? So let's dive into why this question is so powerful and how it can change your life. The default mindset is the trap. When faced with difficulties, our brains often default to questions that keep us stuck in a negative spiral. These questions might sound like, now these are just examples. They might be different in your brain. Just translate them over or think about, what are the questions that I ask myself? Why is this happening to me? Why did this happen to me again? Why do bad things always happen to me? What is wrong with me? Why am I so fat? Why can't I lose weight? Why can't I figure this out? Why am I so lazy? Why did I mess this up again? Why am I such a screw up? Why do I always do this? Do any of these sound familiar? I bet they do, because we have all been there, even if yours are a little bit different. Now, here's the thing. Our minds are like retriever dogs. Whatever we throw to our mind, it goes to retrieve. So questions like these force our minds to continually find evidence that proves something has gone wrong or life is messed up. It's like we're programming our GPS to take us straight to misery town, population us. This default mindset keeps us stuck in victim mentality. We start to believe that life is happening to us rather than for us. We feel powerless, hopeless, and defeated. And let me tell you, that is not a fun place to be. I'm sure you know. Now, remember the retriever dog. Go back to my second story. When I started asking, how is this happening for me? How is this happening for me? That's what I'm sending my retriever dog out to get. Like that is what I'm throwing out for my retriever to go retrieve. And that's exactly what it did. Even though the circumstances were very similar, like we could easily look at all of those same things and say everything's going wrong. But because that is not what I sent my retriever dog to find, it was finding me how everything was going my way, right? Okay, this is the power of perspective. What if we could change the questions we're asking? What if instead of asking, why is this happening to me, we asked, how is this happening for me? This simple shift in perspective can be absolutely transformative. And here's why. Number one, it assumes there is a purpose or a benefit to the challenge. It assumes it. It's the foundation. Number two, it puts you in a problem-solving mindset rather than a victim mindset. And number three, it opens you up to see opportunities you might have missed otherwise. When we ask, how is this happening for me? We're essentially telling our brain to look for the good, to find the silver lining, to discover the lesson or the opportunity hidden within the challenge. Remember, your brain is the retriever dog. When you throw a question, how is this happening for me? It starts fetching all the possible ways the situation could be beneficial. And trust me, there is always something to find. So here are the benefits of this approach. Adopting this new perspective can add some pretty amazing benefits. So number one, personal growth and resilience. When you start viewing challenges as opportunities, you become more resilient. You learn to bounce back quicker and stronger from setbacks. Number two, improved problem-solving skills. This question puts you in a solution-focused mindset. Instead of dwelling on the problem, you start looking for ways to make the most of the situation. Number three, increased emotional well-being. By focusing on potential benefits rather than perceived mistakes, you're likely to experience more positive emotions and less stress and anxiety. Number four, greater sense of control. This approach reminds you that while you can't always control what happens to you, you can always control how you respond and therefore how you experience it. And number five, enhanced creativity. Looking for the good in challenging situations often requires thinking outside the box, which can boost your creativity in all areas of life. Now, one powerful way to understand how everything is happening for us is to recognize that our emotional triggers are actually invitations for healing. When we react strongly to a situation, it is often because it's touching on an unresolved wound or past experience. For example, let's say your husband says something that you perceive as mean, and you find yourself feeling intensely hurt or angry. Your first instinct might be to blame your husband for your pain. But what if we look at it differently? What if this moment is happening for you to heal something from your past? Our present triggers often have roots in our history. Maybe your husband's comment reminded you of criticism you received as a child, or perhaps it echoed a fear of abandonment from a previous relationship. By recognizing this, we can see that the trigger isn't just about the current situation. It is an opportunity to address and heal older, deeper wounds. So here's how this perspective can be transformative. Number one, self-awareness. It encourages us to look inward and understand our emotional patterns. Number two, personal responsibility. Instead of blaming others for our feelings, we take ownership of our emotional responses. Number three, emotional freedom. As we heal these old wounds, we become less reactive and more responsive in our relationships. Number four, deeper connections. By understanding ourselves better, we can communicate more effectively with others. And number five, continuous growth. Each trigger becomes a chance to evolve and become a more whole version of ourselves. So the next time you feel triggered, and by triggered, I just mean something happens and you feel a negative emotion, right? We use that word triggered out in society. I like to use it because a lot of people think of it in that word. It just means something happens and you don't notice the thought in between, which always creates our emotions, but you feel a negative emotion. So the next time you feel triggered, in addition to asking, how is this happening for me, which is still a great question. This is a question I invite you to use all the time, but you could also try asking, What part of me needs healing right now? And how is this an opportunity for growth? This approach does not excuse hurtful behavior from others, but it does empower you to use every experience, even the painful ones, as a catalyst for your own healing and growth. By viewing our triggers this way, we can see how even the most challenging interactions are happening for us, not to us. They're guiding us toward the parts of ourselves that need our attention, compassion, and healing touch. And I promise you this works. I use this all the time in my own life, in my own work. It's saying, okay, if you just choose to believe that things are happening for you, and now you're asking your brain, how is it? How is this happening for me? What is the benefit in this for me? This one is so easy to find once you start to look for it. When you start to see how these are all invitations for healing. It's coming up right now because it's ready to be healed. It's coming up because part of you needs love and attention, which means it is happening for you. We could even say that horrible thing that that person just did is happening for you for your best good so that you can heal all of that stuff within you, which opens up limitless possibilities for your future. So, how do you apply this question? How do we actually put it into practice? Here is a step-by-step guide. Step number 1, catch yourself in the act. Notice when you're falling into negative self-talk or victim thinking. Step number 2, pause and breathe. Take a moment to center yourself. Step number 3, ask the question, how is this happening for me? Step number 4, brainstorm possibilities. Don't censor yourself. Let your mind come up with as many potential benefits or opportunities as possible. Step number 5, choose a perspective. Pick the most empowering perspective from your list. And step number 6, take action. Based on this new perspective, what action can you take to make the most of the situation? So let's look at some examples. Scenario 1, you lose your job. Default question, why did this happen to me? New question, how is this happening for me? Possible answers. This could be an opportunity to pursue a career I'm really passionate about. I can use this time to upgrade my skills and make myself more marketable. This might be the push I needed to start my own business. Scenario 2, your partner breaks up with you. Default question, what's wrong with me? New question, how is this happening for me? Possible answers. This is a chance to rediscover who I am outside of a relationship. I can now invest time in friendships and personal growth. This opens me up to meeting someone who's a better match for me. Okay, so let's talk about resistance. I know what some of you might be thinking. Mindy, this sounds like toxic positivity. Sometimes bad things just happen and there's no good in it. I know a lot of you are thinking it, and I hear you. And you're right. Sometimes life throws us truly difficult, painful situations. This approach is not about denying the reality of your pain or pretending everything is sunshine and rainbows when it's not. Instead, it is about choosing to look for opportunities for growth, learning, or positive change, even in the midst of challenging circumstances. It is about refusing to let difficult circumstances have the final say in your life. Now, it might be uncomfortable, or it might even feel impossible at first. That's okay. Start small. Practice with minor annoyances before tackling major life challenges. And remember, you're not looking for a reason why the bad thing happened. You're looking for how you can use this situation to your advantage despite the difficulty. Now, one powerful technique I have found helpful in this process, especially when faced with resistance, if you are one of the people whose brain is totally resisting this could be really good for you. And this is what I had to do, is to look back at your past experiences. Take some time to reflect on challenging situations that you have faced before, even the ones that felt devastating at the time. And ask yourself, how did that happen for me? Now, when I do this exercise myself or with my clients, we often discover that some of the worst things that have ever happened to us actually led to incredible growth, opportunities, or positive changes that we could not have anticipated at the time. Now, maybe a job loss led to a career you love, or a health scare motivated you to prioritize your well being in ways that have dramatically improved your quality of life. By seeing how past difficulties happened for us rather than to us, it becomes easier for our brains to consider that the same could be true for our current challenges. This retrospective analysis builds our trust muscles, helping us believe that even if we can't see it right now, there could be a benefit or opportunity hidden in our present circumstances. So if you are struggling to apply this mindset to a current situation, try this. Number one, make a list of past challenges that you have overcome. Number two, for each one, ask yourself, how did this happen for me? What good ultimately came from this difficulty? And number three, reflect on how you feel now about those past challenges compared to how you felt when you were in the midst of them. This exercise can help shift your perspective and make it easier to ask, how is this happening for me when faced with new challenges? Remember, hindsight is 2020. We often can't see the benefit of a difficult situation until we've moved past it. But by cultivating this mindset, we can approach current challenges with more hope, resilience, and openness to potential opportunities. Okay, so let me share a couple of stories from my coaching practice that illustrate the power of this approach. My client, we'll call her Sarah, she was devastated when her husband of 15 years asked for a divorce. She initially fell into a deep depression, constantly asking herself what she had done wrong. When we started working together, I introduced her to how is this happening for me? And at first she resisted, but slowly she began to see possibilities. She realized this was an opportunity to rediscover herself and pursue passions she had set aside during her marriage. Today, 2 years later, she runs a successful business doing work she loves, has a thriving social life, and is happier than she's been in years. Okay. Now, another client, we'll call him Steve. He lost his job due to company downsizing. And instead of wallowing in self pity, he asked himself, how is this happening for me? This led to him realizing he had been unhappy in his career for years, but had been too afraid to make a change. He used his severance pay to fund a coding bootcamp and is now working as a software developer, a job he finds challenging and rewarding. Now, these stories are not unique. I have seen countless clients transform their lives by shifting their perspective this way. And when I think of who I would be as a person and what my life would look like if my first husband hadn't cheated on me and then divorced me, I shudder to think of it. It was super painful and nothing I would wish on anyone. And it absolutely happened for me. And I can easily see that now. It was very difficult to see it then. And that's why we do the work of looking back. Because now when I go through things, I'm like, oh no, this is for sure happening for me. I wonder how that's true. And I send my retriever out to find those answers. When we talked about Sarah a minute ago, remember her question was like, what have I done wrong? And she sent her retriever dog to find everything she had done wrong in their whole marriage. And your retriever dog's going to find what you send it to look for. We're all humans. We all make mistakes. None of us are perfect, which means if you ask it what you did wrong or what's wrong with you, your retriever is going to find a lot of answers. And that's just going to make you feel worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And it's going to keep you stuck. It is not going to help you move forward. When you send your retriever to find how is this happening for me, we're talking a totally different experience with totally different results. So here are some questions to consider. What challenging situation in your life right now could benefit from asking, how is this happening for me? What is one small annoyance you experience regularly that you could practice this approach with? And let me actually, I'm going to stop my questions. I'm going to give you an idea on that. When things show up in our life repeatedly, it's because that thing that's ready to be healed, we haven't healed it yet. So if you notice patterns like that, even just small annoyances that happen over and over and over and over, that's your signal that like, oh, something is trying to get my attention. Something here needs to be looked at. Something needs to need some love. Something needs to be examined. There is something here. That's why this keeps happening over and over and over and over and over. It is happening for you to show you something. You've just never taken the time to stop and look at what that could be and then solve for that problem so that this doesn't have to keep showing up in front of you. All right, next question. How might your life be different if you consistently view challenges as opportunities? What is holding you back from adopting this mindset? What fears or beliefs are getting in the way? Who in your life exemplifies this kind of resilient, growth-oriented thinking, and what can you learn from them? The question, how is this happening for me, has the power to completely transform how you view and respond to life's challenges. It's not about denying the reality of difficult situations, but about choosing to look for the opportunities within them. It's about taking your power back and refusing to be a victim of circumstance. Remember, you are the author of your own story. You get to choose how you interpret the events of your life. Why not choose a perspective that empowers you, that helps you grow, that makes you stronger? I challenge you to try this approach for the next week. Every time something doesn't go your way, and for those of you who are just listening, I'm putting that in air quotes, big or small, pause and ask yourself, how is this happening for me? You might be surprised at what you discover. You might even find that in reality, everything goes your way. Live free, love life. Thank you for watching this episode of Live Free, Love Life. Please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to like, comment, and share. See you next time.